This is a losing battle. 100 other monsters will show up to replace anyone you take down.
Probably. But now they'll all know I'm coming for them.
Really curious to see how his Bruce Wayne is going to evolve. Is he going to be more of the suave Bruce Wayne in the future, or is he going to be more
kind of an asshole?
I don't
kind of
think
an
so,
asshole.
man.
But I like it. I like it.
There's that sequence when he's a kid and he goes into Alfred's room and he says, "I'm going to take down every single one of them." And he looks at Alfred and says, "You're going to help me." And then he closes the door. Like, he's crazy.
Hello and welcome to the movie podcast review of Batman Caped Crusader. My name is Daniel. I am one of your crime-fighting trio members today. Joining alongside me on our Justice League of movie podcast reviews, it's Shahbaz.
Hello. Oh, I'm sorry. Hello.
Oh, okay. That was good.
My Batman
you
voice.
You got a little drink some water. Drink some water. Make sure you're okay.
Water. Bats don't drink water.
I don't know if that's a fact, but I don't know enough about bats to prove you wrong, though. That's the problem.
I don't know enough about bats either.
No.
Can bats drink water? They drink water.
I think everybody
They're always, they're always
drinks
nibbling
water,
at water. Yeah.
Oh,
they need water.
someone's been studying the bats, eh?
They're upside down. And
Where were you 2020, huh?
Damn.
I was not with the bats.
Yeah,
you were not with the bats. That other lovely voice that you hear, soaring through the sky and keeping the streets clean. It's Anthony. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing well.
I love it. It's so nice that we get to talk about Batman. It's been a little while. I know we always, I feel like Oppenheimer, The Batman, Top Gun Maverick, these are always movies that we try and bring up anytime we can here on the movie podcast. But here we are talking about Batman Caped Crusader, and it's brought to you by some of the heavyweights who have brought us some incredible movies and shows over the years. Bruce Timm, Matt Reeves, J.J. Abrams, and Ed Brubaker. Like, we have an incredible lineup of producers who have, molded together to bring us the ultimate Batman show. And I remember when that first poster came out, because that's the only poster we had for like 2.5 years. We had the Batman with the longer ears over the skyline. It's like, that's all we had for so long. And it's been a long road for the show coming out. It's moved streaming services. There's a whole lot that's come from that, but we're going to talk all about it. But yeah, it's just great to be talking about Batman. Shay, it's been a little while since it's been a little while since the Batman has come out. It's been even, it's even longer until we get to watch whatever Matt Reeves is cooking up for us. Where is your current, anticipation for, Batman? Because we're in the middle of a relaunch of the DCU. Matt Reeves is still doing his thing. Now we're getting a new animated show. Where's your mind at with Batman right now?
It's interesting. I feel like we've gotten a lot of Batman. With superheroes, there's no shortage. We're always getting the hits, it feels like. And when I heard about the Batman Caped Crusader show, even though I saw the big names around it, I still wasn't feverish for the show. I was like, oh, I'm excited. I'm sure it's going to be great or whatever. But I'm really excited to talk about this show in particular right now because, no spoilers here. But yeah, man, I'm very excited to talk about it. I'm very excited to get into the Penguin later on in the year. I'm very excited to get to the Batman 2 in 2 years or whatever we're looking at for that. So we're in a really good place with Batman. I think we're in a good place eventually soon with Superman as well. We're getting some really good stuff from the DC. Questioning Warner Brothers' decision for not releasing this show, to be honest with you. But hey, all the power to Prime Video.
Yeah, 100%. Again, we're going to get into all that, but it definitely is an interesting decision to pass, to sell your show off to another streaming service, Prime Video, who has also picked up a bunch of other WB stuff over the last couple of years. Anthony, how are you feeling about this decision? Because again, I know Shay said no spoilers. We all really enjoy the show, which we're going to tell you all about in a second. But, what do you think about this decision for, HBO Max to give the show up to give it to Prime Video?
Interesting. Really interesting decision.
Yeah.
But at that time when everything was happening, the whole merger between Discovery and Warner Brothers and Zaslav selling off whatever he could to make money. I get why he did it. It's shocking that it's Batman. It's, these characters that we always think of Warner Brothers. So when you see him on Amazon Prime, and there's nothing wrong with it beyond Prime, it's almost like an Elseworld, like a Bizarro. Like, how is Amazon Prime made this series, not Warner Brothers, not HBO, where you feel like it should live? But yeah, it was always interesting. But hey, we're here. We have the series.
Yeah, and that's the thing. At the end of the day, I'm just glad that this show found a home, because that's the most important thing. There's so much creative talent part of the show, from the producing, from the writing, from the animation, to the acting in it. I'm just glad that it found a home. I'm so glad that Prime Video was that home. And I want to say a huge thank you, as always, to our friends at Prime Video for inviting us to watch these episodes. The show is going to be releasing on Prime Video on August 1st. All 10 episodes will be available for you to dive in and go through this Batman saga from episode 1, episode 10. You can go through it to the end. Today's review, though, will be spoiler free, so don't worry. We are not spoiling anything major that happens in the show. We will be talking about some plot points here and there, but again, nothing that will take away from your enjoyment of the show. I want to say, when you're listening to this, we would have just come back from San Diego Comic-Con. Yes, the movie podcast will be at SDCC next week. It is our first time there. We are so excited to take everything in, and we're just so grateful for you watching, or to you listening. You watching and listening have given us this opportunity to partake in things like this. The Batman Cape Crusader is going to have a big presence there as well, including a lot of other Prime Video shows like Rings of Power and a lot. So make sure you tune in for everything that we have going on the movie podcast. Follow us on social so you can see everything that we're up to, and check out our show notes, because that's going to be the best place to see everything that we have going on here at the movie podcast. Now, we've spoken enough. I've spoken enough. Let's get right to it. Batman Cape Crusader, like I said, it's out August 1st. It has an insane cast behind it. And, I'll just say off the top, Hamish Linklater, something that we've had on the show before, is voicing Batman and Bruce Wayne. We have Christina Ricci, Jamie Chung, we have Diedrich Bader. We have a huge cast of people that will probably take us the rest of the show to talk about. But let's get to our first reactions. Anthony, start us off. Give us your first thoughts on Batman Caped Crusader.
Batman Caped Crusader is a fantastic animated series. Like, it is one of those series that has that nostalgia for Batman, the animated series that we all grew up with, but also refreshing vibe of that 40s pulp fiction, hard-boiled noir that I always gravitate to, because I feel that's where Batman lives. That's the world he I think he strives in, rather than being in these big, humongous JLA, JSA, big battle stuff. This is what Batman is, and the whole team behind this animated series does a fantastic job of just building the season. It creates the dynamics of, like I said, a noir crime thriller. And each episode, even though they're bottled, they have this flow and theme of just really building the next season. And you start to learn about more of the earlier version of a 40s Batman compared to the Batman that we all know, and he's more stern, and he's almost like no empathy, and he's just very like hard. I need to get the criminal, I need to capture this guy, and no matter what it takes. Like, there are points where I find them to be like, even he's mean to Alfred at times. I'm like, damn, like, this guy brought you up, and like,
Pennyworth, dude, like, it's so funny. Like, yeah, he doesn't even call him Alfred. It's just like Pennyworth. It's like, hold on a second, man. Put some respect on that man. He raised you, right?
So it's a different version, but it also feels like that's that hard-boiled version that Ed really wants to tell. And I think Ed Brubaker being part of this, being the head writer of this series, just works, because if you've watched Winter Soldier, or if you read Winter Soldier, or if you read any Daredevil books from his tenure at Marvel and his Batman stuff, it's always dark, and it's pulpy, and it's crime, and it's really detective based thinking and political based thinking, and there's a lot of that happening in this series. As much as this, I'm not too sure if this series is for kids or if it's not. I feel like they could watch it, but the series for me, as just watching it as like an adult, it really felt like, this is a thriller series that I can really invest my time. I'm right now watching Presumed Innocent, and it's, there's a lot of crime and there's this and that, and I can take those elements and put them into this Batman story, because no one's safe. You don't know who really is the culprit of certain things that are happening behind the scenes, and you just really kind of like captured by this whole world that they created. I'm like, oh man, this is that crime thriller I've been looking for. I just didn't think I would find it in an animated series this year.
It's fascinating though, right? And I think for longtime Batman fans like we are, people who grew up loving Batman the Animated Series, this is that spiritual successor that we've been waiting for. This is something that I think, like you said, Anthony, Batman thrives in this environment. So to have a show that's really embracing the Art Deco, the noir, the thrilling elements, setting it in the 40s, like this is, I think, what Bruce Timm really wanted to lean into more with the animated series in the 90s. But then again, that was a Fox Kids TV show. And then it went over to the WB and Cartoon Network with Justice League and Justice League Unlimited and everything after that. So you're limited then of what these characters could be. Because for us growing up, Batman, Superman, all the Marvel characters, they were a lot more, kid-friendly when it came to animated shows. It's the comics where you saw more of the gritty storylines. And we've really seen that turn in the last, I would say 5 to 10 years. Look at this year alone with X-Men 97. Like X-Men 97 feels like a way different, more mature and nuanced show than what the 90s show was. Again, it's still were those things for that time, but they were still limited by being on a kids network. Now these shows can tell these more mature stories in a very more, nuanced and grounded way. And it's really damn good. Shay, jump on in.
I remember when the 90s, Batman animated series was out and we had the 90s Marvel shows out too. I always noticed that whenever they'd show weapons like guns in the Marvel shows, they'd always be shooting lasers. Like there would never be actual bullets. And the Batman animated series would have bullets. Like you would feel like it's real. And what I love so much about what Batman Caped Crusader does is it like dials it up to 11. It's exactly like you guys are talking about. It takes kind of that mature tone. It's grown with its audience here. And it's really given us a show that is so unexpected. Like I had no idea that you could make Batman this cool. Like they've taken liberties at Batman that honestly, it may upset some fans because they're like, oh, that's not my Batman. Batman wouldn't do that. It's like, oh, that's okay. This is a different Batman. He's a little bit newer to the game still. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to be punching out some cops. He's going to be doing things that you're not going to agree with. But that's just the learning curve that you're kind of going along with this Bruce Wayne. And we got to talk about Hamish Linklater because, my God, he is really damn good as Batman. He is not still 100% sold on his Bruce Wayne. I think he's still a great Bruce Wayne, but I think there's a little bit of the suave missing. But again, I'm okay to accept alongside the growth of this Batman, the growth of this Bruce Wayne. I think there's going to be a lot of things that I just have to kind of adjust. But I just love the way he delivers his line. It really reminds me of Kevin Conroy. And I feel that connection to the character still. I'm like, okay, I'm still on board. I still like what you're doing. I love that this show can get violent. I love that this show can take liberties and risks that you're not expecting from an animated show to do. It's really damn good. All the side characters, the animation style, the stories that you're telling, they're not, we've heard every story from Batman imaginable. So you're not, paving a new road for us, but it still feels like the road looks a little clean and we haven't really gone down this path before. I'm seeing versions of characters that I just never expected to be revealed like this or to be portrayed like this. And it excites me. We talk about a character like the Penguin, for example. Again, not going to get into spoilers, but there are things about the Penguin in this show that are A, going to probably piss a lot of people off, or B, really make you go, damn, I did not know that they could do that with this character, and it's really, really exciting. You can really change the perspective on a character and keep it fresh, and that is what Batman Cape Crusader does really well. It keeps Batman fresh. It keeps Batman new and exciting while still putting it in an area where it's a much older character in a much older time in a different place. I love the animation. I love where they're going with this show. I also love the entire team that's behind it. Like when I was reading the credits, I'm like, oh, Hallie Gross is one of the main writers in the show. If you've heard that name before, you can look back to, I believe it's Westworld, but most importantly to us, The Last of Us Part 2. She was one of the main writers along Neil Druckmann on The Last of Us Part 2. And you can kind of see her handprints over this as well. So very, very exciting group of people that are behind this show, and a very damn good show. 10 episodes is not enough. This should have been a 24 episode season.
It's funny though how as some shows, when a show's damn good like that, you're like, yeah, you know what? I would have taken more. I would have happily taken more of this show. But I like that the show tells an overarching story. You can't just jump into this show where I feel like, yeah, in Bruce Timm's original shows, they were a lot more story arcs like this, but now we're seeing something over these 10 episodes, which is really nice. So you're getting you literally have an all-star team assembling this. So you have Matt Reeves and J.J. Abrams. Matt Reeves, obviously, who wrote and directed the Batman. And then you have Ed and you have Bruce, who have all just done their own, really carved their own way in the worlds of DC on their own. And obviously Bruce Timm bringing us all of those DC shows that we grew up loving. And yeah, Hamish Linklater is great as Batman. He's so great. He has such a tough guy voice. He feels like somebody out of the 40s who just feels like he would dress up as a bat. I'm not talking about Hamish. I'm talking about actually Batman. But his voice just sounds grizzled and tough, and you feel like this, he feels like a real person. And it's funny you mentioned his Bruce Wayne shade, because I think that what this Batman is sorting out, and this is a very early on days Batman still, that when it comes to Batman stories, Bruce Wayne is always his mask, and Batman is kind of who he really is. And I think this Batman's still figuring that out. And even when you look at Robert Pattinson, he really was not a suave Batman at all. I think Christian Bale nailed that, Val Kilmer nailed that, obviously Clooney. But you're seeing this Bruce Wayne who's just figuring out what he's doing still. So I'm really curious to see how his Bruce Wayne is going to evolve. Is he going to be more of the suave Bruce Wayne in the future, or is he going to be more
kind of an asshole?
I don't think so, man.
But I like it. I like it.
There's that sequence when he's a kid and he goes into Alfred's room and he says, "I'm going to take down every single one of them." And he looks at Alfred and says, "You're going to help me." And then he closes the door. He's crazy.
You're right.
That's not
different.
A regular dude. Or even someone. He dresses up as a bat, but
that's like Ellie from The Last of Us
cool,
there. That was very Ellie.
Yeah, I'm going to find and kill every single one of them. And it's I believe this Batman. I believe that is his mission, and that's what's so cool. Again, as you both said, where can you take Batman that Batman has not been before? But what I think, the four, shepherds of the show do is bring Batman to familiar places, but put different spins on it. Bruce Timm is one of the creators of Harley Quinn. We get a very different Harley Quinn in this show. We get a Harley Quinn that's not tied to Joker. We have a Harley Quinn who's doing her thing because that's inherently who her character is. So it's really cool to see spins on these characters, or have these characters that we don't get a lot of in Batman media or in shows, like Clayface, or oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name of the ghost, the Gentleman Ghost, the Gentleman,
Gentleman Ghost.
Yeah. So I like that this show could still go into supernatural areas as well too, because when you're first watching it, you're like, okay, is this going to be more grounded? Is this going to lean into more crazier elements of the DC world? And it does, and I love that it does that. I love the take on Penguin in the show. I love that we get, obviously, Renee Montoya, we get Harleen Quinzel, we get Barbara Gordon, who is a huge part of this show, and we get Commissioner Gordon, who feels as crucial to these stories as Batman does. Batman isn't in every scene of this show, but you have a supporting cast that really holds their own, really makes you feel like we are building the world of Gotham, and it feels like a detective noir that's right out of the pages of Detective Comics. And I think that's what's really special about this show, that it feels so just natural and gritty, but it feels like it wants to tell this bigger story. And I'm really hoping in seasons to come, we get the time to explore that.
It feels very much like the golden age of Batman. As much as Batman the Animated Series had that feeling, like this is it. This is the golden age of Batman. This is that detective. I'm going to solve this crime. I'm going to go on the beat. I'm going to do whatever it takes. Like you'll hear people use the slang, and there's a lot of like the 40s slang or 50s slang that you're gonna. I guess new audience is gonna be like, well, Dick Tracy sounding type of talk. But that's Batman, and as much as we like the Dark Knight Returns and all the other Batman, the Long Halloween, they all have that 40s vibe to them. Like it always has this underlining that 40s pulp fiction, which I always love of Batman. I always think that's Batman, as much as I never even grew up with that. But when I read the old
Detective Noir kind of looked.
That's him. And I think they just felt like this is the story we want to tell, and we want to include all these characters, new or old, revisioned and put them in like Catwoman in her costume is golden age
Christina
Catwoman,
Ricci?
right? Yeah,
phenomenal.
It just looks wicked.
Yeah, and again, there's so many other characters that we didn't even touch on. Harvey Dent is a big player this season. Diedrich Bader plays him so well, and it's just one of those characters that you think about the Dark Knight and Aaron Eckhart's portrayal. That's the gold standard, and I love that we get a portrayal of Harvey Dent this time. We're seeing him as, this is a guy who wants to do good. He's a little bit of an arrogant guy, but you see his vision. He like truly at the end of the day, this is a guy who wants to do good in Gotham, and there's just a lot of corruption. There's a lot of just evil that he has to take on, and it's really cool to see how he connects with Bruce Wayne and how he interacts with, the Gotham Police Department. There's so much that just overlaps narratively in this show, and I think that's where you have just an incredible writing team that was able to take a season like this, spread it out over 10 episodes, and tell a really strong, coherent story, but also not too complicated, but also mature enough that I think older audiences like us will love it. But I think if this is an entry for kids to watch Batman, I think it's a little bit more mature for sure. But I think that, kids may be able to watch this and be like, you know what, this is very different from Batman Brave and the Bold or any other of the other, there's a Batmobile kids animated show that's out too right now. But like, this is just another version of Batman that kids may be able to get into the same way that we got into Batman the Animated Series and those other shows. Because it's interesting, as Batman the Animated Series went on, it became less and less dark. Once it left Fox Kids, it went to Cartoon Network and WB. Same as you said, Shay, those guns weren't bullets anymore. They were like, you shoot them, they were like little lasers coming out of them. They were like plasma guns. So it's interesting how you see that. But yeah, this show's very gritty. So I'm curious to see how the younger audiences will respond to it. Anthony, what do you think?
I think that's my main, like when I was watching it, I'm like, I wonder if kids will understand this or appreciate what this is, because it's a little, and not just the maturity, it's more of like how in depth, like the depth they go with this character. And again, I'm no teenager. I don't know how I have kids, so
Dude,
I don't know.
You're a 16-year-old kid in my eyes still.
Like, do they care about this type of storytelling? Like, is this something that they really connect with? And that's a challenge, because you need kids to watch this as well. You need at least the young teenagers. I'm curious as much as anyone else here. What about you guys?
This is honestly like one of the best shows that Prime Video has ever put out, and the audience that's on Prime Video, skews older. When you have shows like The Boys that's still dominating right now, that audience can easily come and watch a show like this, because this show feels mature. It feels gritty. It feels grounded. Yet there's still moments of the supernatural in here. There's moments that still make Batman. And I think that whatever age you are, like if I was a 13-year-old kid watching this show would fucking rock. Like, this would be my shit. I would be watching this all the time, and it would become my personality. I would easily just make it part of my life, the show. Watching this as an adult, I'm just like, man, they have it so good right now because this is a phenomenal show that as an adult I'm absolutely in love with. We got X-Men 97. Now we've got Batman Cape Crusader. Like we're eating. Why are we complaining? We're eating.
Yeah, and when you think of, this year in superhero films, excluding the Sony Marvel movies right now because they're doing their thing.
Ooh.
But I think DC and Marvel are really taking a step back and be like, okay, let's reevaluate. Let's look at what stories we want to tell. Obviously, Batman Cape Crusader was in the works for a while before it landed at Prime. But it's nice that we have a show that really honors the legacy of Batman. You have an incredible team, not only creating the show, writing the show, of voice talent, lending their voices to the show. It really is special. And I think as someone who loves Batman, as we all love Batman, this is a Batman I want to see more of. And I'm really excited to see what stories they explore and the takes they have on the characters too. Again, there's an episode later this season that I won't spoil what characters, but it's a Batman ally that I'm like, interesting way of portraying these characters and what their role in the future is going to be. Because like if Batman fans will recognize these names, you'll be like, oh, that's them. And they're all together. What does this mean? Why is this happening? But like you want to know more. And I think that's what the show does really well too, is that it has really cool villains and characters that we don't usually see get the limelight, and they get their time to shine in Batman Cape Crusader. They get their time in the Bat Signal. And it's just like, yeah, I want to see more of that. Let's get to our final suggestions for Batman Caped Crusader. Shahbaz, I'm going to get you to start us off.
If you're not watching Batman Cape Crusader, then reevaluate life. Like reevaluate a lot of things that are going on in your day-to-day, because it is one of the best shows that we've gotten this year in a very, very long time. It's one of the best iterations of Batman that we've gotten. I am in love with this show. I love everything about this show. I can't wait to see stuff at San Diego Comic-Con about this show. I really hope, it's early because the show's not out yet. We're probably not going to see much merch or anything like that, but man, like just give me more Cape Crusader, because badass title, badass show. This is the show that you got to watch. Just watch it and join our Discord and tell us all about it.
I'm right there with you. It's such a beautifully made show. It truly is that spiritual successor to Batman the Animated Series. And I think the promise of the fulfillment of what that show could be, of telling just solo Batman story in Gotham. I'm really excited to see how this universe expands in the future. And I hope this is a show that you want like 5 or 6 or 10 seasons of, because I just want to spend a lot of time with these characters. Anthony, take us on home.
Yeah, this is one of those series you need to watch. If you're a Batman fan and you love the detective side of Batman, this is that story for you. And if you are in love with the Golden Age or the 40s and 50s or 30s, I don't know what area this takes place. I'm not going to name the 3 that I think it does. It's like that Hollywood backdrop type of storyline where they say, look here, wise guy, and Tommy guns come out and like that type of stuff. That's like that just era of Batman that's not really looked at a lot, and I love that they really focused on that storyline. I really love the Pulp Fiction, that real noir storytelling. So for me, it's a watch it, and I think a lot of people will find the same thing.
I love it. Again, if you want to watch Batman Cape Crusader, we really think you should. It releases on Prime Video August 1st. Make sure you tune in. All 10 episodes will be available. And if you want to see all the other lovely stuff that we're up to at San Diego Comic-Con, make sure you're following at The Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. Check out our show notes below for everything you need to know, including how to see our lovely faces on YouTube, on Discord. We can talk about this show. And, if you want to see some really cool interviews with some of the biggest people in the entertainment worlds, you're going to want to follow us on Instagram. I promise you will not regret it. Thank you once again to our friends at Prime Video for inviting us to watch these episodes. That was this time with The Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.